after Palm Sunday turned bloody in Gariawaye community of Angwan Rukuba in Jos, Plateau State, last night after an attack by gunmen. The gunmen are said to have opened fire at 7:50 p.m. last night, with security personnel, including the army, arriving on the scene at 8:45 p.m. The Plateau State government has enforced a 48-hour curfew as the situation in the community is calm but is tense. This comes as the Defense Headquarters reacted to backlash that followed the Chief of Defense Staff's lecture that endorsed the reintegration of former terrorists into society. The response from DHQ concerning the statement around the lecture by the Chief of Defense Staff, not connected to this incident. Thank you very much. This statement reads, second, the comments by the CDS were made within the context of a professional military doctrine lecture, emphasizing the importance of multidimensional conflict resolution. His remarks highlighted global best practices where rehabilitation complements battlefield successes and not replaces them. Any attempt to frame these remarks as sympathy for terrorists is a gross misinterpretation. Well, that was part of the statement. You'll remember last week we had spoken about, some references about to the prodigal son and so forth. So DHQ is saying that all these comments need to be taken in a holistic manner and that the people being addressed were other military men. Well, meanwhile, Nigerians have converged in the comments section of an Instagram post by the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, where he declares that those who have graduated from the University of Crime cannot be rehabilitated.
Darles una oportunidad. Además, ¿qué oportunidad le podemos dar? ¿Le podemos pagar un estipendio por no ser criminales como hacen otros países? Les pagan, básicamente es un incentivo para ser criminal. Porque ahora hacen dinero de la criminalidad y encima reciben dinero del gobierno. Entonces, presidente, la única forma de solucionar un problema que ya existe de inseguridad es con fuerza, con la fuerza del Estado. Que yo lo he dicho en otras ocasiones, todo Estado es más fuerte que sus grupos criminales presentes en su territorio. No hay Estado que no pueda contra los criminales. Si un Estado no vence a la criminalidad es porque el Estado es cómplice.
His final words, he says, if a state does not overcome crime, it means that state or a part of the state is complicit in the crime. Now, I'll come to you, Rufai. Yeah. Harrowing, horrifying news. If you look at those images and videos out of Jos from last night, they're still counting bodies. We have our correspondents on the ground there, and the situation is just so sad. And all of this in the context of how are we handling criminality? The debate continues about reintegration and reform and rehabilitation, but this is the situation on the ground. Look at this community. They're counting dead bodies this morning.
It was a sad, bloody Palm Sunday. See, when the Irish crisis happened and Londonderry happened, one of my favorite rock band, U2, sang a song called Bloody Sunday, Sunday, Bloody Sunday. And there's a portion of that song, Sunday, Bloody Sunday, said, how long must we sing this song? How long must we sing this song of pain and disaster and harrowing situations like this? The total evisceration of humanity. People are killed, murdered in cold blood. And it segues back to the conversation about the DHQ. I mean, when we took umbrage at what the military head did say, it was a corrective measure. He goofed, pure and simple. He missed the ball, trying to preach a message of reconciliation. See, you use that for military doctrine. You say you try to rehabilitate people because you want society to move on. But those military doctrines do not work in this part of the world. See the killings. See the numerous peace deals. Have these people respected the peace deals been by? No. Weren't the governors that went out to do peace deals there, weren't they ashamed? I think this clarification was unnecessary. They should have just shut it, left it alone. It's not everything you react to. And I must tell people that speak for ministries and government in this country, when you goof on an initial premise and people call you out, it's just best you shut it up. You don't need to react and push in a press statement because it just increases the hurt. Yeah. You were talking about a prodigal son in a country where these terrorists kill people. So why don't you make a case for the family members of the people they killed? Just like we're trying to make a case for the people killed in Jos today. Who is going to bring succor and help to their family members? Who is going to pay for this killing that has been done? The only offense they've committed, they stay in a part of this country and they are Nigerians. And they swear allegiance to the sovereignty of this country. Yeah. And nothing is being done about it. So people should not come and tell us cock and bull stories. Nabi Bukele might be hardline because in his own country, he kills these terrorists. He obliterates them. But the truth is, him saying that is also very valid because you know your country. All this forgiveness doctrine, it does not work. Right. If people wanted to repent, they will repent. And the people that are terrorists, they have a choice. Why didn't everybody choose to be terrorists? We all hurt from this country. We can choose to be terrorists, but we decided to take a good path. Yeah. So when they make their decisions, they should face the music and trying to tell us in military doctrine and everything. And like Dr. Bati said rightly, people are just so concerned about the largesse and the quota of funds that will be put towards this scheme. Yeah. Did Operation Suluhu work in the past? It didn't work. It didn't work. I know they're going to bring one or two people on sprinklets and say, oh, this is the evidence of it working. It's just about the funds that trickle down. We need to be able to solve this problem of insecurity, and the state must show its might.
That's it. Absolutely.
And I think it was insensitive trying to explain what we already know.
Well, I suppose the debate is still out there. The policy is still underway, and we'll continue to see its merits and try to unpack its demerits as well, and the impact that it has on the security situation in the country. Well, in other news, it was a weekend packed with politics, as what Arise News has tagged the Festival of Democracy kicked off in full steam with the successful execution of the ruling All Progressives Congress and People's Democratic Party conventions. We bring you a few of the most talked about moments from the APC and PDP conventions, beginning with the dramatic moment that took place at the APC's 8th National Convention at Eagle Square in Abuja, where delegates and journalists who were attempting to gain access to the venue validated were tear-gassed by the police, even though many already had accreditation tags. Now, some journalists report being denied accreditation completely, with the confusion in screening people leading to mayhem as security operatives attempted to control the situation. All right, you can see people clutching their faces, trying to recover from the tear gas. Meanwhile, an aide to the governor of Lagos State, Wale Ajetumobi, took to X to narrate his own chaotic ordeal that led to his iPhone 17 Pro Max being stolen, with the prime suspect being a fellow APC delegate from Nasarawa State at one of the VIP access points. This was his narration of his experience. He took to X to post, and I quote, "In the ensuing disorderliness, my iPhone 17 Pro Max 2 terabyte was moved from my side pocket, which was quite deep. I was momentarily dazed by the excitement of the governor's grand entrance into the venue. 'Where is my phone?' I exclaimed. Everything seemed blank before I came to terms with the fact that I had been robbed. My Chalmers power bank and AirPods were the only working tools left on me. How would I work with such hardware? However, I strolled into Eagle Square without betraying any emotion, but within me I was experiencing deep pain. Emi omo mushin ni won move near Abuja." I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Mushi. Emi omo mushin ni won move near Abuja. I spotted many of my APC favorites, but couldn't even take pictures with them. Pastor Okezi, Bashir Ahmad, Bayowa Davis, Shegun Dada, Sheyi Law, Jerry Koko, among others. He was unable to take pictures. Well, he goes on to narrate how he was able to use the Find My app feature from an iPad he had in his hotel room to track the photos phone down to a car lot where the police assisted him in conducting a search, during which his phone is said to have slipped out of the pocket of Mahmoud Abdullahi, an official of the Nasarawa State Ministry of Justice. Ministry of Justice. Well, he's still a suspect. It is still an allegation. We looked forward to seeing how this case will be concluded. But for now, this is the information available. Let's round up with drama at the same APC convention, because it didn't end there. Edo State Chairman Jared Tinebe lamented that Edo State delegates were placed in the overflow marquee and not in a more premium location, despite flipping a state from PDP to APC and promising to deliver 3.5 million votes to the president in the upcoming election. This is what he had to say.
Here, because normally we're always at the entrance of the convention. Yesterday I've been protesting that they kept us here because we are a state that has a governor. Not that we spoke to our governor to cross to APC. We worked hard to make a governor for the state. And we expected that when you are considering positioning states, we are supposed to be one of the first states to be positioned, because we worked hard to flip the Edo State to APC. And we are also convinced that as a state that has promised Mr. President 3.5 million votes, to be kept in a place like this is not right. But what do we do?
Dr. Bati, they promised 3.5 million votes. Yes. How can they be an overflow? Is that how these things work, Doctor?
He doesn't know what he's talking about. Because the population of Edo State itself is about 2.69 million people. In the last gubernatorial election in that state, they said they had about less than 1 million voters. So Edo State cannot even give President Bola Ahmed Tinubu up to 3.5 million. So this chairman,
they will give
how would they give it? They will inflate figures. So Jared Tinebe should be told that as chairman of the party, he should speak with some clarity and common sense based on empirical facts. Now, he was blaming the governor about their sitting position. Usually, I don't know how they do it in APC. When the state sit, they sit alphabetically. So, was it that they were not seated alphabetically? Were they put after Zamfara? What is he really griping about? So, I think what he's saying, doesn't quite make sense to me. Whether they are seated close to the gate or at the back of the gate or wherever, the important thing is that the Edo State delegation was accommodated at that event. As for the gentleman who lost his phone, I salute his diligence. He said he had something called Find My iPhone app. And he used that Find My iPhone app to track whoever stole his phone. And he contacted the police, and in this particular case, the policemen, he even praised them that they acted diligently. They followed him through the process until they met people at a a Kamat. And they were in a place where they were praying. These are supposed to be religious people. And the phone rang in the Abdullahi's pocket. And this Abdullahi works also in Ministry of Justice in Nasarawa. The man is the suspect from whose pocket the phone dropped. Looks like a disgrace to his faith, a disgrace to the office that he works, where he works. I've had some people rationalizing it, saying where there's poverty in the land. You should not say because of poverty you steal other people's phone. Then there was the tear gas incident. And, that was why I was challenging Sumna Sambo when he came here and said, of all conventions that he has covered as a political reporter, this was the best ever. It was a Dodoistic comment. Contra Ododo. If you speak Yoruba, you know what that is all about. So if you now come and say, it was well organized, it was innovative. Okay, what of all these incidents that have been pointed at? However, the bigger question is the basic approach that was adopted. Well, they didn't do anything illegal. They just followed Section 84 sub 2 of the electoral 2026, which allows either direct primaries or consensus. But there are persons within the party, the APC, who are saying, look, they were not allowed. It was not participatory enough, which is the case, I guess, for other political parties, because that's what the law says. Yeah. So the people who have been disenfranchised, we'll probably hear more from them, either from the APC or from the PDP, or from Labour Party and ADC and other political parties. But as I always say, the true test of any piece of legislation is in the implementation.
Absolutely.
So indirect primaries, they say the idea is to prevent godfatherism and money politics. Yes. But even this consensus politics is giving more powers of control to certain individuals and subverting the idea of internal democracy.
Absolutely. Ayo, let's talk about some people who seem to have amassed a lot of power by way of convention. Let's turn our attention to the PDP Convention that concluded at the velodrome of the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja in the early hours of this morning. FCT Minister Wike took center stage as the national leader of the party at a gathering observed by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and attended by members of the party's top brass, including former Senate President Bukola Saraki, former governors Sule Lamido and Ibrahim Dankwabo, amongst others. Whilst the confirmation of the party's National Working Committee was the major highlight of the gathering, this moment from Wike's speech, where he declared that praising the president will not protect anyone in the next election, got tongues wagging.
Let nobody think, because people have talked about the president, his achievement. President's achievement will not cover any of you. This period is a period of Operation Show Your Report card. Operation Show Your Report card. All of you who took our mandate, we will take it back. Then they fear you,
all of those who took our mandate will take it back. Who took the mandate? I'm wondering who took the mandate? Who normally praises the president? Yeah. It's a bit confusing, these statements.
I think what's even more confusing is talking about an APC president at the PDP convention. You could almost mistaken the convention for an APC convention, and the fact that it happened side by side is quite interesting. That we have interesting political times, but the PDP, there are a lot of legal loopholes and legal, shall I say, things that you have to, challenges, legal challenges you have to surpass. And we talked about this at length earlier on during the show. But compared to the APC convention, despite the challenges that were highlighted earlier, showed more united front. How that unity came about, we can debate. But there was, and as we talked about, that it is easier when you have a ruling party, have a convention, to see almost everyone aligned, don't ruffle feathers so much. In fact, I was going to say that Mr. Jetumobi that was talking about stolen phone, that is bringing embarrassment to the status of the APC convention. I hope he doesn't get into trouble. But I saw the lights at the end of the tunnel when was the fact that the policemen were able to identify who the phone was with and recovered it. So a sweet story at the end of the day, but it's still a cause of embarrassment to the convention itself. But you would see that there was a lot of effort on one convention had to put up that united front, to put up a front so everything is in order, we have our house in order, we are ready for 2027. But the PDP, a lot of legal tussles too. Number one is that there's a criticism or a conversation around the National Working Committee itself. The new National Working Committee, where some of the members are made up of court-suspended officials, like Mr. Samuel Ayamu, for instance. There's also the conversation around the Caretaker Committee, how legal, the legality of it and if it is going to be recognized, whether or not the outcome of this particular convention will be recognized by the courts following the Supreme Court ruling that is impending. Would find out whether or not all the dance, all the rigmarole, all the efforts of Nyesom Wike will be fruitful based on the court ruling. But of course, some legal minds have already picked some loopholes, picked some holes in this particular particular convention. But I think very importantly is the state of the democracy, and that unfortunately, as it seems, and you look at the opposition party, it seems that it's only one party that is sure to be on the ballot come 2027, and that doesn't all go well for our democracy in Nigeria. And so those are the conversations that are being had. But around the organization, I did see some of the way that the APC presented, and in fairness to them, maybe because of, and I talk about threshold and standards, perhaps because of the standards in the past have been so low, we cannot judge this as being excellent and so on, because there was some form of order, and it looked really good to the eye, aside from some of the errors that we're trying not to put to the public. It looks really good, but when you look at the details of it, there were many disgruntled voices, and has been already predicted by the opposition. The APC is headed towards an implosion very shortly, especially after the primaries before May 30th.
All right. Well, many people would say that we saw federal might on display at the APC convention. But the question regarding the PDP convention is INEC's presence going to be enough to validate the Wike faction? Will there be more reconciliation? We will be here, front row seats, with our popcorn to analyze as the situation unfolds. Now, whilst our politicians face the pre-election period squarely, governance continues to suffer as Nigerians continue to grapple with a crippling power crisis. In some places, citizens have become so frustrated that they have started attacking officials of distribution companies who had come to disconnect the power from their neighborhoods. This is shown in a video that has now gone viral.